What's going on, Summoners? Welcome back to another ProGuides video. Awesome to see you again. I'm your host, Kangas, for today's video, and I'm going to tell you all the upcoming changes for patch 11.24. This next one is filled with systems and even a few champion changes, so expect the preseason meta to continue developing at a rapid pace. Hit that sub button so you don't miss out on any of our content like this, and let's get into the video. Now, before we even talk about the balance changes, let's first go over these beautiful skins coming out. They look spectacular, and you can expect to see Debonair Brand, a prestige edition of it, Draven, LeBlanc, Leona, Malzahar, Master Yi, and Zed next patch. These skins aren't only cool, but will bring a completely new identity to several champions. I'm a big fan of Master Yi's and Brands because they now have hair. Game-breaking change right there, in my opinion. But that said, let's talk about the massive adjustments that are actually coming up in the game. Starting off with system nerfs, Predator has gained significant popularity, especially in elite levels of play. It enables its users far too much. Junglers especially are almost always guaranteed successful ganks with this, while roaming mid laners gain immense potency from it. Agency is good, but too much isn't balanced. Both players and now devs have recognized that this gives too much influence to both the mid lane and jungle, which are already high impact roles. Thus, the maximum movement speed will be reduced and ramp up time increased. With the addition of new dragons, games have been getting a lot more exciting. Now, while the concept of Chemtep Dragon Soul is also exciting, a second life has proven to be a bit too strong. The bleed out time will be reduced, meaning that you'll now have less time for a posthumous retribution kill. In addition, the damage output reduction has also been increased, meaning that you'll now deal less damage as well. Next nerf is to Crown of the Shattered Queen. Performing quite well as a mythic item, it's time to receive a small nerf to its AP. A balance change was to be expected, and unfortunate for players that enjoyed building it, it is getting nerfed. Next up is Cosmic Drive, which is receiving several nerfs. The item's doing way too well after its rework and is getting hit in its AP, health, and even the bonus movement speed. Another mythic item up for a nerf is Even Shroud. It's a powerful item for tank supports as it helps them assist teammates in taking down priority targets. In fact, it's been too effective, and as a result, the damage amplification and even the duration will now be reduced. Frostfire Gauntlet received a massive damage buff this last patch, and next patch it's receiving a massive nerf, because now it's too strong. Adding damage that scales with max HP was definitely an oversight. The base damage will be reduced and HP ratio fully removed in this next patch. Finally, Axiom Arc is up for a nerf as well. The ultimate refund is being reduced from 25 to 20%. Mathematically, this means that you need 5 takedowns to fully reset your ultimate rather than 4. I'd consider this a pretty big deal, as it means that you won't be getting your 2 ultimates in a team fight anymore, especially on champs like Nocturne. That said, Axiom Arc will still fill the same niche and allow snowballing assassins to take more risks. But assassins are always kind of feast or famine champions, so if you're interested in learning how to best play them, go check out our coaches at ProGuides.com. The preseason is a great opportunity to improve, and our coaches would love to help you out regardless of who or what role you play. But that's it for the system nerf, so let's take a look at the buffs next. Archangel's staff received a massive change in the preseason, repurposed to provide some extra sustain for the spammy mages when complete, as well as a ton of ability haste. It has taken on a new purpose. At the moment, the price point feels a bit steep for what it provides, making it much harder to finish subsequent purchases. As a result, its price will be heavily reduced next patch. Costing 400 gold less, you can expect players to finish it anywhere from a minute to 2 minutes earlier than before. The power spike will especially be massive if a player has already finished stacking that mana. While the Chemtep Dragon Soul has proven to be too strong, both of the new Dragon's mini buffs are underperforming. The damage amplification on Chemtep Dragon's buff is going up by 1% next patch. While the difference is minimal, picking up multiple stacks of this buff will definitely make it much more rewarding than it was before. In the late game especially, even a small 2% damage amplification can really make all the difference on a maxed out build. And the Hextech Dragon's mini buff has also felt a bit weak, so as a result, both of the bonus attack speed and ability haste are going up by 1%. Again, 1% isn't a big deal, but as you gather multiple stacks, you'll notice it more. Finally, Conqueror is receiving a buff. In what seems like a direct response to Lethal Tempo's dominance, Riot is taking the necessary steps to ensure players don't simply take the ladder every single game because it's just objectively better right now. As a result, the duration will be increased by a full second, while the adaptive force per stack will be increased in the later stages of the game. This increases its late game combat strength and also makes the Keystone much easier to use. The previous nerf to its duration definitely hurt, and this is essentially a revert back to its former strength. But that covers the buffs, so we have 2 final system adjustments to cover. In a surprising turn of events, Lethal Tempo is actually receiving adjustments based on whether you're melee or ranged. As a result, it will continue to provide a flat, immense combat boost in the earlier stages of the game. The melee attack speed per stack will go down by 2, while ranged champions enjoy a 2% buff instead. In addition, the bonus attack range for ranged champions will be slightly reduced as well. At maximum stacks, melee champions will end up with 10% less attack speed and ranged champions 10% more. Overall, this is a very notable change, as it makes it far weaker for top laners that are loving this rune and also encourages more marksmen to use it, which is kind of what it was designed for. It's definitely not as popular as it should be on marksmen right now, so I understand the need for this buff. Little worried it's going into OP range now though. The loss of some attack range will definitely hurt, but 10% attack speed is a noticeable change in damage output, especially on champions like Vayne. That said, top lane meta should feature a healthier mix of Conqueror and Lethal Temple users moving forward. Next up is an adjustment to Glacial Augment, as it had some massive changes this season. The end result will be a slightly weaker slow early on that eventually scales up to only just slower than where it currently is. Its base slow will go down by 5%, but its AD, AP, and health and shielding ratio will increase in compensation. Technically, it's possible to end up with a stronger slow than before, but in most cases, that won't be realistic or even optimal to do so. The good news is that if you've been enjoying the damage reduction that the Keystone provides, it appears that it won't receive any adjustments in that regard. But since we're talking about runes, I want to ask our question of the day. Do you want to see more runes added to the game? I think we have enough variety with the secondary runes, but some extra Keystones would be kind of cool. I find it weird that the Precision Tree is the only one with 4 options, so maybe the other ones could use that too, but let me know your thoughts in the comments below. So with the extensive system changes covered, let's move on to the handful of champions receiving balance tweaks. In the top lane, it's absolutely no surprise that Camille has made the list. She currently sits just below a 52% win rate and higher elo, however Camille has performed excellently for the majority of Season 11. Her consistency and power have left several summoners wondering patch after patch, where are the Camille nerfs? Well, complain and you eventually shall receive. They're finally here, and just in time for the early stages of the preseason. Next patch features some hefty nerfs that will severely decrease her power in the mid to late game. Poke damage and sustain are also taking a noticeable hit during the laning phase, and her E's cooldown will be increased by 2 whole seconds at max rank, while her W sweet spot damage is also going down. This not only reduces her damage, but also her sustain, since Camille's W heals her for bonus damage in the sweet spot range. These changes make it way easier to fight Camille during the laning phase, and also give other champions a more realistic chance at outscaling her. Kled is also due for some big adjustments, and this one's going to be noticeable. Skarl's base HP will now count as your base HP next patch. This is probably the biggest upcoming change, and in case you don't know why, let's explain. Currently, Skarl's health is counted as bonus health, which leads to some unintended strength. For example, Sunfire Aegis includes a bonus HP ratio on its burn damage, while Gargoyle Stoneblade Active Shield also scales off of your bonus HP. You're able to access a much bigger shield than intended as a result of Skarl's high HP value. The end result is that Kled heavily favors a tank build at the moment, but Riot plans to push him back to his roots of being an aggressive pick that thrives off of high damage and high risk gameplay. Aside from the obvious nerf by changing this interaction, Skarl's base health is going to increase in the later stages of the game. Kled's E cooldown will be reduced by 1 second, and his E ratio will be increased by 5%. As a result, players that don't go for the popularized tank build will benefit heavily from these buffs. The tank build, however, is taking a massive hit and will probably just get abandoned. But those were the only top lane changes, so let's move to jungle next. Like we mentioned in the patch preview, Ivern is definitely due for some love. The preseason has been kind to him, and several other junglers received new items to work with while he was just kinda left untouched. Krugs have always been an issue for Ivern, and it actually makes more sense to donate them to your laners because of the low payout. However, all of that changes next patch, as the Friend of the Forest is finally receiving the compensation that he's due. Krug's Freedom Experience and Gold Payout are both receiving massive buffs, so it probably makes even more sense than before to farm them as Ivern, as you'll be able to save an incredible amount of time and still receive a big payout. But with no mid or support changes expected, let's finish up with the bot lane changes. First up is a nice buff for Samira. Her ultimate's mana cost is being removed altogether. This is a really solid buff, and most importantly, makes her gameplay feel much smoother than before. As it is possible to ult multiple times during extended teamfights, the significant mana cost reduction helps avoid any unfortunate mishaps. The removed mana cost also helps her more effectively play to her hack and slash style fantasy. Samira comes out stronger, but also more fun to play because of this change. Finally, Caitlyn is receiving a big one. Whenever she targets an enemy marked by traps or her net, Caitlyn's next auto attack gains a partial timer reset. This will definitely change things up and honestly sounds like a much needed change to somebody that hasn't been played too much lately. But that covers our upcoming changes for patch 11.24. Hope you all enjoyed it. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below, and also check out the description for a link to join our Discord. But most importantly, everybody, best of luck on the Rift, stay hydrated, and I'll see you in the next one.